Hey everybody, Old Man here. Clearly getting another video out in a week didn't quite work out. So still working on some lighting and some studio setup back at the house, but being stuck in the house for too many months in a row, we had to get out and get away. So this is actually our second camping trip since the last video. We decided to drive out to Washington to Dash Point State Park. That's a great place. So I'm going to be shooting a lot of B-roll on multiple days. Hopefully get some good B-roll of the dogs playing on the beach or something. This is a gorgeous area, so there's a lot to film. I also have a gimbal that I'm experimenting with, so I'll be talking about that over the course of the next couple of days as well. I know in my first video we talked mostly about setting up a studio and studio lighting and that kind of thing, but too much time in the house, man. I had to get out. So we're going to be doing a lot of B-roll this weekend, and I'll be hopefully learning how to do that well and talking about that with you. So stick around. I'll show you some of the sights. We're going to use the campsite as a jumping off point to go run around and explore the southern part of Puget Sound, maybe even drive out to the coast, go through Olympia and go out to the Pacific. But before we do, I thought I would talk a little bit about the gimbal. I mentioned I purchased a gimbal earlier. So I bought a Zhiyun Weebill S after a lot of time of painstaking research, and really had to think about it because there's a lot of stuff out there. I'll talk more about the gimbal and why I made that choice, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about the setup of the gimbal in a future video. But for right now, I wanted to go over what I actually chose to use the gimbal for. Now, I bought it primarily to do B-roll because the B-roll that I've been seeing on YouTube is just fantastic stuff, and the stuff that I've been doing handheld, just I didn't like it. I couldn't take it because it was so jumpy and all over the place. And so that's why I've got this. That's why I'm going to learn how to use this. But I'm actually thinking this might end up pretty awesome for vlogging too. Learning how to drive it might take a little bit of time, but it looks so much better than hand holding. Now it's a little heavy, so it's going to take some time to get to build up some of those muscles you don't use very often. But man, it works so much better than handheld. So we'll go over some recommendations, go over some setup and stuff, like I said, in a future video. But for right now, I think this footage looks so much better than anything that I was doing handheld. And there's a lot of cool things you can do with it. So I'll head back to the camper. I'll pack stuff up, get the dogs in the truck, and we'll go run around. This weekend was supposed to be all about B-roll, and I took quite a bit of it. Some of it I'm hoping turned out pretty well, but my experience this weekend has kind of changed how I think the workflow is going to be for putting together these videos. So for a little context, it's coming up on 10 o'clock Sunday night. So we're in the campground tonight and then traveling home tomorrow morning. We pulled in Friday evening, so we had 2 full days in the campground, around the Sound, around Tacoma. And I really thought I was going to get a bunch of footage and do quite a bit more of this talking head stuff. And I came to the realization that it is really tough. Mrs. Mann was extremely patient and gave me a lot of chances to shoot a lot of video, and I took quite a few stills too. The dogs weren't as patient. They were raring to go, and so I found that trying to come up with a concept for a series of shots to put together and then executing that when I'm wrangling 2 big dogs and my wife is waiting on me to get it done was pretty difficult. My biggest lesson learned was this shit's hard to do if you're not out with the express purpose of doing this and just this. So trying to shoot some stuff on a vacation, man, it just didn't work out. It was really tough. So, along with setting up the studio and lighting and sound and all the hardware stuff that I had planned on talking about on this channel, I think a lot of what we're going to be talking about is just how to actually do it. Discipline. Being able to consistently create content on a regular basis, have things planned out, and have topics to talk about, I thought was going to be a lot easier than it actually is. Hence it being a few weeks between my first video and this video. So I think it takes an amount of dedication and time. You just got to put the time in. So if you're thinking about starting a channel, if you're thinking about going down this path that I'm going down, be prepared to dedicate yourself to putting the time in to actually do the videos. I'm falling down horribly right now, and I am trying to find some ways to do a better job. I really thought this trip was going to help, but again, shooting all this video came really close to ruining the whole weekend for my wife and the dogs, right? So I've got to figure out a way to get that balance too. You will find hundreds of thousands of channels on YouTube that have had no activity for months or even years. And if you dig in, you'll find that they did 4 or 5 or 8 or 10 or even 20 videos. And sometimes they were really spaced out and then just stopped. And I think what's happening there is 2 things. One, they realize that they're not going to gain thousands and thousands of followers with 15 or 20 videos. And they get discouraged and they give up. Or 2, what is happening to me, things end up so spaced out that they fail to get the kind of consistency that YouTube is looking for to start promoting channels and promoting videos. And so they never get any subscribers, they don't get a lot of views, and they bail. So big lesson learned for this weekend is put the time in, force it. Now if you're like me, I have a pretty demanding full-time job, a little more than full-time. So eking out time to do this stuff is not very easy, and I have to make time to do these videos, and that's what I've been failing at. Let's talk about the B-roll that I shot this weekend. I've already shown some of it. You can see watching this stuff that there's some pretty decent shots, and then there's some stuff that didn't go over too great. Learning lessons as I go, right? And that's the whole idea, and that's what we're talking about in this video series. The gimbal, I think, worked out really well. This is my first outing with it. I still have a lot to learn there, and I'll get better with it. But it really helped. It really helped a lot. I will follow this up with a video on this gimbal. I think I'm prepared to recommend this gimbal, even for a small APS-C camera setup like what I have. This gimbal works out really well. So in my first video, I started a tutorial of the week to let you guys know what I found online. So there is one that I'm going to recommend. It's a Crowley Crew video, and he did a piece that talks about the way Peter McKinnon sets up his B-roll and rolls that into his vlogs. And Crowley did a really cool deconstruction on the way some of that works. I did not have an opportunity to really incorporate any of that into what I did this weekend, but highly recommend checking that video out. I think he did an outstanding job breaking that down. And there's also a couple of others, and I'll post links in the description to point to a couple of those. But there were some that I really enjoyed over the last couple of weeks that I watched, mostly having to do with setting up B-roll, stuff like that. As always, please comment, start a conversation. Let me know how you think this lighting is working out. Let me know if you think that the fire in the background was cool. I thought that might look kind of cool. And ask any questions that you may have. Let's start a conversation, because honestly, folks, I am floundering trying to learn what I even want to do, let alone how to do it. And I could really use your help in helping me figure that out. So feel free to post, and hopefully my next video will actually come in a week or a little bit more. We'll see if I can squeeze some time away from work enough to get some stuff done. So subscribe if you feel like it. Hit the notification bell, since you can't necessarily count on it being a week, so you know when a new video does actually come out. And by all means, please do comment. I really want this to be an exchange and a two-way thing. As I'm starting this out, I could really use your help. So be safe, be kind, and we'll see you in about a week. See ya.